Some stories should never be told, but you're about to hear them anyway. Enter Fatal Frames. This happened back in 2019 when I was 17 years old and working my first real job. It was at a speedy gas off Route 84 in rural Texas, one of those stations that sits alone on a dark stretch of highway between two small towns, the kind of place where you might not see another car for 20 minutes at a time. I worked the closing shift, 4 p.m. to midnight. My job was simple: run the register, stock the coolers, and lock up when the last customer left. The pay was minimum wage, but for a high school kid with no expenses, it felt like a fortune. The owner was a man named Dale. He was in his late 50s, always wore the same faded flannel shirt, and had this way of appearing when you least expected him. He didn't live in town. He had a house about 40 minutes away, but he made it a point of checking on the station almost every night. At first, I thought it was just him being a responsible business owner. He'd pull up around 10 or 11, walk through the store, check the register totals, and make small talk. "How's school going? Your parents doing all right?" Normal stuff. But after a few weeks, I started to notice things. Dale never parked in the front lot where customers parked. He'd pull his truck around back, near the dumpsters, and walk around the side of the building. Sometimes I wouldn't even know he was there until I'd turn around and he'd just be standing in the doorway of the stockroom, watching me. "Just checking in," he'd say with that flat smile of his. I told myself it was nothing. He owned the place. He had every right to be there. But then came the night I'll never forget. It was Wednesday, slow as usual. Around 11:30, I was mopping the floor near the back coolers when the lights flickered. Not unusual. The electrical in that old building was terrible, but when they came back on, I saw something in the reflection of the cooler glass that made my stomach drop. Dale was standing at the end of the aisle, just standing there. He hadn't come through the front door. I would have heard the chime. He must have used the back entrance and just waited there, watching me mop. I don't know how long he'd been there. "Oh, hey Dale," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Didn't hear you come in." He didn't respond right away. He just looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before. His eyes were empty, like he was looking through me at something else. "You're a good kid," he finally said. "You know that?" I laughed nervously. "Thanks, I guess." He nodded slowly, then turned and walked out the back door without another word. I heard his truck start up a minute later and pull away. I quit 2 weeks after that. Told my parents I needed to focus on school. The truth was, something about Dale just made me feel unsafe in a way I couldn't explain. It was just a feeling, nothing I could point to. 3 years later, I was home from college from winter break when my mom called me into the living room. The local news was on. Dale's mugshot filled the screen. He'd been arrested for the murder of a woman named Patricia Summers. She'd been killed in 1997, stabbed 17 times, and left in a drainage ditch about 3 miles from the gas station. The case had gone cold for over 2 decades until the new DNA technology matched evidence from the scene to Dale. During the investigation, 2 other former employees came forward. Both of them were young women who'd worked the closing shift. Both of them described the same thing I'd experienced. Dale appearing silently, watching them when he thought they didn't notice, making comments about how they were good kids. One of them said she quit after Dale offered to drive her home one night. She said no. She said the way he looked at her when she refused still gave her nightmares. I think about that gas station sometimes, about all those nights I was alone with him. The highway, dark and empty outside. The nearest house, miles away. I think about how I'd stand in the doorways and just watch. And I think about Patricia Summers and how she probably didn't get the feeling I did. Or maybe she did, and she just didn't listen to it in time. I never went back to that gas station. Last I heard, it closed down after Dale's arrest. It's just an empty building now, sitting alone on that dark stretch of highway. But sometimes, when I'm driving at night, and I pass a gas station with the lights on, I wonder about the person working inside, and I hope they trust their instincts more than I almost didn't trust mine. I used to work security at a rehabilitation center in Arizona. It was one of those high-end places where wealthy families sent relatives with addiction problems or mental health issues. Nice grounds, expensive treatment, and a gate that stayed locked 24 hours a day. My shift was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Mostly I sat in a small booth at the main entrance, watched the monitors, and buzzed people through when they showed proper ID. Nurses coming in for the night shift, the occasional ambulance, maintenance workers. It was quiet work, boring even. The facility had 4 camera monitored gates around the perimeter. Gate 1 was the main entrance where I sat. Gates 2 and 3 covered the service entrances. Gate 4 was at the back of the property, near a stretch of desert that led to absolutely nowhere. It was never used. The road on the other side was unpaved and led to an abandoned construction site about a mile away. Nobody ever went to Gate 4. That's why I noticed when someone appeared there. It was around 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night in March. I was doing my routine check of the monitors when I saw him. A man standing on the other side of Gate 4, facing the camera. At first, I thought it was just a lost hiker or someone whose car had broken down. It happens sometimes in the desert. But lost people usually wave at the camera, or walk around looking confused, or try to get your attention somehow. This man did none of those things. He just stood there, perfectly still, staring directly into the camera lens. I zoomed in to get a better look. He was wearing dark clothing. I couldn't tell if it was black or navy blue. His face was pale, his expression completely blank. His arms hung at his sides like they were weighted down. He didn't move, not even a little. No shifting of weight, no scratching, no looking around. He just stared. I watched him for a full minute, waiting for him to do something. Nothing. I picked up the intercom that connected to the speaker at Gate 4.
Sir, can I help you? Are you lost?
No response. He didn't even react to the sound of my voice.
Sir, this is private property. If you need assistance, please approach the main gate on the east side of the building.
Nothing. He just kept staring. I called my supervisor. She told me to keep an eye on him and call the police if he tried to enter the property.
Probably just some tweaker.
She said.
They wander around in the desert sometimes.
But he didn't look like someone on drugs. He looked empty. Like there was nothing behind his eyes at all. For the next 2 hours, I watched him. He never moved. He never looked away from the camera. Never sat down or leaned against anything. He just stood in the exact same position, staring. At 4:15 a.m., I looked away from the monitor to log something in my report. When I looked back, maybe 30 seconds later, he was gone. I rewound the footage to see him leave, but there was no leaving. One frame he was there, the next he wasn't. Like he just vanished. I told myself it was a glitch in the recording. Old equipment. Desert heat warping the electronics. Something rational. But when I filed my report the next morning, the day shift supervisor went pale.
Gate 4?
She asked.
Are you sure it was Gate 4?
I nodded. She pulled up the incident log on her computer and turned the screen toward me. In the past 18 months, there had been 7 separate reports of a man standing at Gate 4 in the middle of the night. Same description every time. Dark clothes, blank expression, standing perfectly still, staring at the camera. The first report was from 3 years ago. The security guard who filed it had included a note at the bottom. I don't know how to explain this, but I don't think he was looking at the camera. I think he was looking at me. I quit the job 2 months later. Not because of the man at Gate 4 specifically, but because I couldn't shake the feeling that some night, when I looked at the monitor, he wouldn't be on the other side of the gate anymore. He'd be standing behind me. I worked at a 24-hour convenience store in Ohio for about 8 months after I graduated high school. It was a rough neighborhood. Not dangerous exactly, but the kind of place where you learn to keep your head down and not ask too many questions. The night shift was usually just for me, from midnight to 6 a.m. We got the usual cast of characters. Insomniacs buying sleep pills, drunks looking for snacks, truckers filling up on the coffee before the long haul, After a while, you stop really looking at people. They're just transactions. Scan, bag, give change, next. It was around 3 a.m. on a Saturday night when she came in. The door chime rang and I looked up from my phone. A woman walked in, maybe mid-30s, average height, wearing jeans and had a white blouse. Except the blouse wasn't white anymore. It was dark red and sticking to her skin. Her hands were red. Her face had red streaks across it, like she wiped her forehead with the back of her hand. She was covered in blood. Not splattered or spotted. Covered. Like she'd been swimming in it. I froze. My hand went instinctively under the counter where we kept the panic button. But she didn't look distressed. That was the thing. She walked calmly to the refrigerator section, opened the door, and pulled out a bottle of water like it was any other night. Then she walked to the counter and she set the bottle down in front of me. I couldn't speak. I just stared at her. She looked down at herself, at the blood-soaked blouse, and then back at me. Her expression never changed.
Don't worry.
She said. Her voice was flat, calm.
It's not my blood.
She pulled a crumpled $5 bill from her pocket, somehow not covered in red, and placed it on the counter. I still couldn't move. I just stood there as she took the water, twisted off the cap, and took a long drink.
Keep the change,
she said. Then she walked out. The door chimed behind her. Through the window, I watched her cross the parking lot and disappear into the darkness beyond the streetlights. I should have called the police. I know that now. But in the moment, I was so shocked that my brain couldn't process what had just happened. By the time I thought to look at the security footage, she was long gone. And what was I going to tell the cops? A woman came in, bought a water, and left? I checked the news for the next few weeks. I searched for reports of attacks, assaults, anything that might explain what I'd seen. I found nothing. No bodies, no victims, no missing persons that matched the time frame. To this day, I don't know whose blood it was. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know who that woman was or where she went after she walked out of my store. All I know is what she told me. It wasn't her blood. And the way she said it, so calm, so matter of fact, that's what keeps me up at night. It wasn't fear in her voice. It wasn't guilt. It was nothing. Like she was telling me the weather. I quit that job a few months later, moved to a different city, got a day job with normal hours. I've never worked a night shift since. But sometimes, when I can't sleep, I think about her. I wonder if she's still out there somewhere. I wonder if she's walked into another store, late at night, covered in something that isn't hers. And I wonder if the person behind the counter asked any questions, or if they were smart enough to just give her the change and let her walk away.